All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. This is on the imaginary numbers. This is our introduction to the first time you've ever seen little letter I. All right, so little letter I, of course, stands for, guess what? Imaginary. So you have two sides. One side, we're going to fill in some notes and do some kind of practice. On the back are exercises you will do for homework. I suspect many of you will work quickly and you most likely won't have any homework. Okay, I am recording this lesson as we work it in class for the benefit of those who are not here. Thank you for paying attention early. Here we go. The imaginary unit is called little letter I. And it is defined as the square root of -1. Never before, every time we came up with the square root of a negative number, our go-to answer has been no real solution. And I've kept trying to emphasize the word real. It does not touch the x-axis. So just because we're going to talk about letter I still means it doesn't touch the x-axis. Okay, the pure imaginary number is written in the form, it's A plus BI, where A is the real part and BI is the imaginary part. And we're going to do some more tomorrow with understanding how this kind of fits in with your known number systems. So this is the first time we're going to talk about complex numbers. So this is considered a complex number, A plus BI. Today we're going to start super simple. Pretty much, I'm going back to square roots, which is where we started this unit. Square roots. We're still going to look for squares, right? And we're going to pop out those perfect squares like 1, 4, 9, 16, 25. You know, those that are up here in the front of the room and the ones that you have already maybe in your notes or you already have them memorized. Here's all I have to do. I'm going to break down square root of 9 into the square root of -1 times 9. Is everybody good? Here's all we do. We already know, we've done this before. The square root of 9 comes out as what?
3.
A 3. That part's not new. This part is new. Today, for the first time, if you have a square root of a -1, you're going to basically pop out an I. Okay? So the -1 is used up and the 9 is used up. I have no more square root, and the answer to this is 3I. Okay? So at this point, the only thing new is if you have a square root of a negative, the negative pops out as an I.
So it's just the square root.
Just pulls out as an I. As I said, this is...
Like -4, it's still going to come out as 3i.
It'll come out as 2I if it's square root of -4. Square root of 4 is 2. Yeah, that's it. All right, square root of 196. Some of you got calculators? All right, we're going to break down the square root. Okay, that's going to be the square root of -1 times 196. And 196 is a perfect square, so we're going to pop out what? 14. How do we pop out for the -1 part? That pops out as an I. So my answer is 14I.
How
How about the square root of -5? All right, it's going to be the square root of -1 times 5. Here's the thing, though. Can 5 come out? Okay. The I can still come out, but you're right. The 5 has to stay. Okay. So is this totally difficult? All we're doing is adding an I. Okay. Shh. Square root of 80. So -1, that comes from a negative. 80 breaks down into 16 times 5, I think. Okay, I'm going to have some things come out, and I'm going to have some things not come out. All right, the square root of -1 comes out as a what? I. Square root of 16 comes out as 4, so the -1 and the 16 have used. Can 5 come out? No. So my answer is 4 and I out front, square root of 5. Just 5. What about the answer for 5? Okay, I'll let you try. Go. All right. If you break down negative 32, negative 1 pops out as an I. 16 pops out as 4. What about 2? 2 does not get to come out. So 4 and I are outside. Square root of 2 on the inside. Okay.
16 12.
No. Maybe. All right. So this is going to be, I hate when I do that. I press the record. Okay. Negative 16 times, whoops, 3? That ain't right. 64 times 3. Okay. Okay, the negative comes out as an I. 64 comes out as 8.
8I square root of 3.
8I square root 3. All right. So that's our first 6 intro problems. Now, we're going to go ahead and we're actually going to do square roots method. We're going to revisit that. Okay, now we're going to revisit solving. So we have notes on the board. You have notes in your notebook. Roots method, which means there's no middle term for bx. Solve for x squared. I'm going to do the same thing I've done before. So it says take the square root of both sides. Don't forget plus or minus. Those are the ways that we use to solve the very first lesson after we learned to simplify radicals. So now I'm going to get x squared by itself. So how do I get rid of 81? I'm going to subtract 81 and take it to the other side. So I get x squared is equal to negative 81. Now, in the very first lesson, our answer was no real solution. That's still the case. I still have no real solution. But as of today, I am able to give an imaginary answer. So I'm going to take the what? Square root of both sides. Taking the square root of a square gives me x. And 81 comes out as a what? 9. And the negative comes out as I. And then what are we supposed to not forget? Don't forget what? Plus or minus. Do you see how we've updated? The only part we've updated is the fact that we're popping out an I so we can actually list an answer. Guys, this is still not a real solution. This thing still does not cross the x-axis. But you are able to give an imaginary answer. Go. Let's take a look at the next one. Okay, remember, our strategy with square roots method is to solve for x squared. So I have a plus 9 and also a 2. How do I get rid of plus 9?
Subtract that.
Subtract.
2x squared equals negative 8.
2x squared equals negative 8.
2. X squared equals negative 4.
Now, in the past, I would say no real solution. This thing technically does not cross the x-axis, but as of today, with our imaginary answers, I can solve.
2.
Square root of x squared cancels and I get x. That's going to come out as 2, and that's going to come out as I. Don't forget what? Plus or minus. Okay. Okay, I'm going to subtract 15. So if I take away 15, take away 15, 4x squared is equal to negative 24. Divide by 4. X squared is equal to
Negative 6.
negative 6. Now, that's not a perfect square root at all. So I can only bring out what it's possible to bring out. So if you take the square root of both sides, which is what we're supposed to do, we get x. The only thing I can do is the square root of the negative part comes out as what? An I. Can the 6 come out? No. So it has to be an I on the outside. Under the square root still is the 6. And you can't forget what? Plus or minus. Because there's always two possible answers. Hey, is your mind like blown now? Not too bad? Okay. So we are revisiting We are revisiting square roots method because we have no middle term. So these are none of these will factor. Okay, number 10. So I'm going to try to get x squared by itself, so subtract 13. X squared is equal to negative 13, oops, sorry, negative 12. Take the square root of both sides. That's where I get my x back. It is. Break down 12 into 4 times 3 times negative 1. So negative 1 pops out as an I. What's the square root of 4 come out as? 2. And the square root of 3 cannot come out. And don't forget what? Plus or minus. Your homework is on the back. Okay. Homework is on the back. That's a short, quick mini lesson, introduction to imaginary numbers. The only thing I need you to be able to do is to pop out an I when you end up with a negative under the square root. That's it.